Good morning, students. So as we move on in the module number 1, once we complete the crystal structure and the terminologies related to that one, like a coordination number or effective number of atoms and a calculation of the APF and a density. So now we'll see how the material is going to behave with these crystal structure. So in order to understand the behavior of the material under different types of a load, we need to plot a graph between the load how much we are going to apply and the length how much it is going to increase, okay, or the load how much we are going to apply, and in a generalized term we can say the change in its shape either in terms of a length or in terms of a area. Okay, so in order to understand the mechanical behavior of a material, we use a technique called a stress strain curve. Okay, a stress strain curve, so which is drawn against a stress versus a strain. Okay, so before that one we need to understand what is the stress and what is the strain and how exactly we are going to measure those things. Okay, so these things are very important even in this subject and as well as in the mechanics of a material. Okay, and we are going to evaluate these mechanical property using the stress strain curve. Okay, so this one will be done practically also in your coming semester with the material testing lab. So once we move on, so now we can see it here. So this is what is called as a universal testing machine. Okay, so universal testing machine on which we can test the material for different kinds of a load. Okay, so different kinds of load is something like so if I have a material like this, okay, a rod like structure, so if I'm going to apply the load like this, okay, this is what is tensile, and if I'm going to apply the load like this, so this is what is a compression. Okay, so if I'm going to shear it, okay, like this and like this, so this is what is called as a shear load. Okay, so by applying these loads on this machine, how the material is going to behave, so that will give a pictorial view of its mechanical property. So now here the material or a specimen which we use for this machine is a dog bone shaped material. Okay, the shape of the specimen is like a dog bone, you can see it here. Okay, so here important thing is have a parallel test length and we have a gauge length. So gauge length is a very important one. This is what we are going to consider it as a L naught, and the cross sectional area we are going to take it as a D naught, that is a initial diameter. Okay, so once we take that material, so we are going to place it here. You can see the specimen between two jaws. Okay, so one is a stationary and one is a moving one. Okay, so here once we are going to apply the load, you can see the initial gauge length. As we increase the length, as we increase the load, the length of the specimen increases incrementally. Okay, so you can see to the first one this is L naught. Okay, to the second one we say L1, to the third one we say L2, like that. So as the load increases, you can see there is a increase in the length. Okay, so in between these four stages, okay, there is a stage where exists if you're going to remove a load, the material will regain its shape. Okay, it's a original shape. That is what we say like a elastic deformation or elastic behavior of the material. Say for example, if you have a spring, okay, or a rubber, so if you press, what will happen once you are going to release the load? Okay, so it will again regain its original shape. Okay, the same thing will happen with the metals also up to a certain limit. Okay, up to a certain limit, the material, once we are going to remove the load, it will regain its original shape. So beyond that point, if you are going to increase the load, so there will be a localized area, that is the decrease in the diameter of the workpiece. Okay, that is what we say like there is a formation of a neck. Okay, means so after this point, sorry, after this point, so if you are going to increase the load, the deformation will be a permanent one. Okay, if there is an increase in the length or decrease in the area, that will remain same. Okay, or a permanent on the material. Okay, so once again after that point, if you are going to increase the load, so you can see there is a formation of a cracks, a small micro cracks which are going to form at a particular area. Okay, so again once you're going to increase the load, these whatever the cracks will what you call collide, that is they will uh, unite together in order to form a bigger crack. Okay, these micro cracks will grow into a macro cracks and the failure of the material will take place. Okay, means if you observe the each stages in that one, okay, the length of all these things will increase, and once to coming to this one, the diameter of this one is decreasing. The length is increasing but the diameter is decreasing. You can say there is a increase in the percentage of a length, there is a decrease in the percentage of a area. Okay, at certain point of load, the breakage or the failure of the material is going to take place. So once we are going to take up these things, okay, so you can see it here. Okay, so this is what we said, the elastic region. So there will be increase in the length, but once you're going to remove the load, it will regain its original shape. That is what this region is. Okay, this is what we say elastic region. And so year, from year to year, okay, so this is what is we say elastic limit. Okay, elastic limit means within this point, if you're going to remove the load, so it will regain its original shape. Okay, so how exactly we're going to drop this graph is, so this S is nothing but a sigma will be equal to load, the applied load divided by a naught, that is a initial area. Okay, and here epsilon naught will be equal to the strain, that will be equal to delta L, that is a increase in the length divided by original length, that is a L naught. So once we calculate for each step, so we are going to get a sigma and a epsilon naught. Okay, so once you're going to plot these things, so we're going to get a linearity between a stress and a strain, where if you're going to remove the load, it regains its original shape. So this region is called as a elastic region. Okay, or this is the region where stress is directly proportional to the strain. Okay, so sigma is directly proportional to the epsilon naught. So if you remove the proportionality constant, sigma will be equal to E into epsilon naught. E into epsilon naught. So here E is called as a Young's modulus. Okay, so R, this law, the law which builds the relationship between a stress and a strain in the elastic region is called as a Hooke's law. Is called as a Hooke's law. Okay, so Hooke's law states that the stress is directly proportional to the strain within the elastic region. If you see the same here, okay, so in this curve, okay, you can see it here. This is elastic region. So once you're going to cross this region, okay, the changes which are going to take place in that material will remain permanent. Okay, so you can see, okay, there will be atomic movement. Okay, there will be slippage, what we say. Okay, so the things which are going to happen at that moment will be permanent in that. Okay, so that is what is Hooke's law we say. Okay, and the elastic region, and the area under this curve, okay, under area under the elastic deformation we call as a stiffness. Okay, so always the stiffness is measured in terms of a Young's modulus, or in other words Young's modulus is the indication for a stiffness of the material. Okay, and the area under this curve we are going to call it as a resilience. Okay, the energy absorbed in the elastic region is called as a resilience. Okay, so this can be measured within the area, like a half into the base. Okay, that is epsilon naught into the height, that will be into sigma. Okay, half into epsilon naught into sigma. So epsilon naught is nothing but the base of the triangle, the height of the triangle is nothing but a sigma. So we can write the modulus of resilience will be equal to half into epsilon naught into sigma. So already we know, like the sigma, okay, will be equal to E into epsilon naught. E into epsilon naught, or else we can write epsilon naught will be equal to sigma by E. sigma by E. So once you're going to substitute here, we are going to get the equation as a half into sigma square divided by E. Okay, so this is what we say like a modulus of resilience. Okay, so resilience is nothing but the amount of energy absorbed in the elastic region. So whatever the amount of energy absorbed in this region is measured in terms of modulus of resilience. Okay, so that is what is about the elastic region. So once we move on, okay, so here, so beyond that one, okay, so there will be increase in the deformation also due to increase in the length. After some time the fracture of this material will take place, means after this point the material starts yielding means there will be increase in the length of that one. Okay, so what are the relation which we are going to get it in terms of a stress strain curve, we'll see here. Okay, so before that one we need to know what are the terminology which we are going to use in the coming slides. Okay, so one thing is here, okay, so we can say sigma. Okay, this is the notation which we use in order to show engineering stress or a nominal stress. So sigma suffix t is nothing but a true stress. Okay, so epsilon naught is nothing but a engineering strain. So epsilon naught suffix t is nothing but a true strain. So a suffix naught is equal to original cross sectional area. So AI instantaneous cross sectional area. So L naught original length, Li will be equal to instantaneous length. Remember, suffix T stands for a true, suffix I stands for a instantaneous, and suffix O stands for a original. Okay, so remember these terminology which we are going to use it in the coming slides. Okay, so this is what we have discussed in the previous slide. Okay, so now how to calculate the stress. Okay, so what how to calculate a stress, so how to calculate a strain, and how exactly we are going to get this true strain and engineering strain. So we'll see. Now the first thing is true stress. Okay, true stress is nothing but a force divided by cross sectional area. So what type of cross sectional area? It is a instantaneous cross sectional area. Say for example, so what we have seen in a previous slide, so I will be having this as a original diameter, that is a d naught. Okay, so when the length of this one is going to increase, the d naught will changes to di, that is a instantaneous. So say for example, now it was here as a 12, so if it will here it will decrease to 11.5. So next again, once the length increases, the diameter decreases, maybe it's a 11. Okay, like that. So here the AI will be calculated at each point, that is a pi di square divided by 4, because it's a cylindrical specimen. Okay, for each point we are going to calculate the instantaneous area. Okay, and by putting this one we'll get a sigma. So you can see the true stress strain curve will be increasing because this AI will be decreasing. Okay, as the denominator decreases, okay, the ratio will be increases. Okay, so you can see the true stress strain curve will be keep on increases. Okay, so the next one will be true strain. Okay, true strain is nothing but epsilon naught t will be equal to Li by Li minus L naught divided by L naught, or else we can say integration of L naught to Li del L divided by L naught. Or if you do these things, if you apply the ln, we will get a ln Li by L naught. So how exactly we are going to get again? So if I have this as a L naught original length, there will be increase in the length, say L1, L2, L3, L4, like that. Okay, so if I want to calculate the strain between this is a L0, L1, L2, L3 and L4. Okay, so here I will write so L1 minus L0 divided by L0. Okay, change in the length divided by original length. So if I consider this and this, what I will write? I will write L2 minus L1 divided by L1. Okay, so if I consider these two, I will write a L3 minus L2 divided by original as a L2. Okay, so the ratio will keep on continuous. Okay, so in order to find the summation between these increase in the length, what will write? We'll write a summation of Li minus L naught divided by L naught plus like that L1 minus L naught divided by L1 or L2 minus L1 divided by L1 like that. Okay, so once you're going to what you call remove the summation symbol, we can introduce the integration symbol. Okay, that is integration of L naught to the Li del L divided by L naught, or else in a simplified form we can write in this way also. Okay, that's a very important one where we talk about the true strain in terms of instantaneous length, change in the length to the original length. Original length means the previous length. Okay, so next we are going to get the strain, the engineering stress. Engineering stress is nothing but a force divided by cross sectional area. Now you can see it here. The cross sectional area is a original cross section area. Means whatever the d which you took initially, it will remain same throughout the calculation. So now the denominator remains constant, so the curve drops down. Okay, here the denominator is decreasing, so it starts increases. Okay, that is the difference between a true stress and engineering stress. Now when it comes to the engineering strain, it is a change in length to the original length, that is delta L divided by L naught. Okay, so this L naught will remain constant for all the calculations, so only the strain of that one again will drops down. Okay, so that's what you can see it here. So here the denominator ai and the length which you're going to take, that is instantaneous length, because of that one the curve starts increases. Okay, and here because the denominator remains constant, the numerator will be keep on changing, that is decreasing, so the curve will be decreasing here. Okay, so these things are important in order to derive the relationship between a true stress and engineering stress. So how exactly, we'll see here. Okay, so now what we have done in the previous slide, we have calculated the stress where sigma will be equal to a sorry f, that is or a p divided by a naught, okay, taking a original length. Okay, so next we calculated epsilon naught as delta L divided by L naught, that is a original length. So here we are going to talk about engineering stress and strain. Okay, so now, so here once we are going to take up this point, okay, this is what I said, elastic limit. Okay, where we are going to have a Hooke's law. Okay, where sigma is directly proportional to the strain. Okay, so now this is what is a true stress strain, and this is what is a engineering stress strain. Okay, so what are the terminology normally we use here? First thing, okay, is a proportionality limit. So proportionality limit is nothing but it's a limit where sigma is directly proportional to the epsilon naught, that is stress is directly proportional to the strain, or sigma will be equal to E into epsilon naught, that is a Young's modulus. Okay, so that is it is the limit or the uppermost limit below which it the Hooke's law is old school, above which the Hooke's law will not be applicable. Okay, that is what is a proportionality limit. And if you're going to take the slope of this curve at any point, you are going to get E, that is sigma by epsilon naught. Okay, that is a measure of a stiffness. Okay, so you take the what you call the slope of this line at any point, this E will remain same. E will remain same. That is the measure of a stiffness of a material. Okay, so and after this point, okay, there will be yielding of the material will take place, that is a elastic limit. So once the proportionality limit crosses, you can see the elastic and proportionality limit are almost coincident. Okay, they are not much far away from each other. Means when the proportionality limit crosses, the elastic limit is the one below which whatever the load which you have applied on the material, if you remove that one, it will regain its original shape. Now after that one, so we have a yield point. Okay, so yield point is something like the point at which the plastic deformation of a material is going to start. Okay, so you can calculate the proportional elastic strength corresponding to this one. So this is what we see, sigma E. Okay, and we can calculate the yield point, that is a sigma Y, according to whatever the point which you're going to get. So if you're going to drop down, easily you can find out what is the yield stress at that point. Okay, so once this yield point crosses, there will be increase in the length. Okay, so there will be increase in the length to till there will be a maximum load which is applied on a material. Okay, the load which you are going to apply on the material will reach us to the maximum. Okay, that point we are going to call it as a sigma U, or a ultimate. Okay, that's a maximum load a material can withstand. Okay, so after this point there will be a necking. Okay, you can see there will be decrease in the diameter. Okay, so once you're going to cross this point, okay, the material is going to break. So like this, so either it can take up to the actual one, or it can take up to the engineering strength. Okay, so this is what we say true break strength, and this is what we say engineering, okay, break strength. Okay, so here we take a AI, and here we take a A naught. That is what you need to remember. Okay, those things are a important thing here. Okay, so this is how exactly we can define the stress strain curve for a ductile material. Okay, so now as we move on, we need to know what is the relationship between a true stress and a engineering stress, and a true strain and a engineering strain. So when we are going to derive that one, so first the assumption which we are going to do in this derivation is, so we are going to assume there will not be any change in the volume. The volume remains a constant, means A naught L naught will be equal to AI Li, that is a initial volume will be equal to final volume. There may be change in the length, or there may be changes in the area, but the volume of that one will remain same. Okay, so once we assume this one, so we are going to write sigma T, that is a true stress will be equal to F divided by AI. Okay, that is what a true is I. Okay, so F divided by AI. So we can write multiply and divided by A naught. Okay, so by rearranging the terms, we'll remove this F by A naught this side, and A naught AI this side. Okay, so now this F by A naught is nothing but a sigma. Okay, that is a engineering stress, where we will write a F by A naught. Okay, that is a load divided by the original cross section area is nothing but a sigma. Okay, so now if you are going to calculate what is this A naught AI, okay, again rearranging these terms, we can write A naught by AI is equal to Li by L naught. This Li by L naught can be written as, okay, so delta L plus L naught, means this Li is nothing but okay, increase in the length. Increase in the length means L naught, that is the original length, plus increase in the length. What is the increase in the length? That is a delta L. Say now if I take this as a one specimen, this as a one more specimen. So this is the length L naught. Now this is the length Li. What is Li? Li will be equal to, okay, so original length L naught plus the increase in the length. How much? So this much. This much is the length. So that is what is a delta L. Okay, that is what we have written here. Delta L plus L naught divided by L naught. So this can be written as delta L divided by L naught. Okay, plus 1. So delta L by L naught plus L naught divided by L naught. So we will get this one. So we can write this one as a 1 plus epsilon naught. So epsilon naught is nothing but a delta L divided by L naught. Okay, similarly this one engineering strain. Engineering strain is nothing but a epsilon naught will be equal to delta L divided by L naught. Okay, so this is how we can write these things. Okay, so now substituting this A naught by AI is equal to 1 plus epsilon naught, we are going to get sigma T will be equal to F by A naught 1 plus epsilon naught T, or else epsilon naught T, sorry, sigma T will be equal to sigma into 1 plus epsilon naught. Okay, so by taking this as epsilon naught and AI by A naught as a 1 plus epsilon naught, so we are going to get the true stress will be equal to engineering stress into 1 plus engineering strain. Okay, so very important to note down these things because many times either they may ask for the derivation or they may ask for a problem. Okay, so now once we know the relation between a engineering stress and true stress, so let us know like what is the relation between a engineering strain and a true strain. Okay, so again taking the same, okay, assuming there is no change in the volume, that is a naught ai, okay, will be equal to l naught and li. Okay, so this is what by taking the ratios we'll write it here, and same thing we'll write delta l naught, and we'll get that one as a 1 plus epsilon naught. Okay, so whatever the things we did in the previous slide, we'll have it thus in the same way. Okay, now we need to find what is epsilon naught t. Epsilon naught t. So what is epsilon naught t? I said so if I say this is L naught, next L1, L2, L3, so we can write the strain like a L1 minus L naught divided by L naught if I consider these two, and if I consider these two I can write a L2 minus L1 divided by L1, and if I consider these two I can write a L3 minus L2 divided by L2 plus so on. So on means till the fracture of that one take place, we can write in this way. So to write this one in a simple way, okay, we can write this one as a epsilon naught t will be equal to integration of delta L divided by L. Okay, that is a L naught here. Okay, or else we can write ln of Li by L naught. The summation of all things, these things in a short form we can write it is a Li by L naught. Okay, so now what is Li by L naught? Li by L naught is equal to 1 plus epsilon naught. Okay, so that is what we have written here. Okay, so instead of this Li by L naught, we have written 1 plus epsilon naught, which you have derived from this equation, and we are going to get epsilon naught t will be equal to ln of 1 plus epsilon naught. That is a true strain will be equal to ln of 1 plus engineering strain. Okay, so that is a relationship between engineering stress and true strain. Okay, so to understand that one, let's take an example. Okay, so a low carbon steel rod is subjected to a tensile load of 7000 kg, assuming this is a very important, no change in a volume, that is a naught L ai will be equal to L naught into Li. So determine engineering stress, engineering strain, true stress and a true strain. So the initial diameter is 13 mm and the specimen under the load is 12 mm. The diameter when we are going to apply the load is 12 millimeter. So now what are the data they have given? Data they have given as a load F will be equal to 7000 kg. We need to convert that one to the Newton. So initial diameter, that is a D naught, is a 13 mm. Okay. By knowing this one, we can calculate what is a naught. What is a naught, and reduced diameter, that is a Di, is equal to 12 millimeter. By knowing this one, we can calculate what is a I. Okay, so now engineering stress is nothing but a load divided by original cross section area, so F by a naught. So calculated a naught here. Okay, so what is the stress which you're going to get now? Okay, the load is 68.67 into 10 power of 3 Newton, and the area is 132.73 meter square. Okay, so how much you're going to get here? Sorry, it's a millimeter square. Okay, 132.73 millimeter square. Okay, so now once you are going to do that one, you are going to get a 517.35 Newton per millimeter square. Okay, so now to calculate a true stress, a load divided by instantaneous cross section, that is a sigma dash, or you can write a sigma t also, F divided by ai. So what is the ai? Ai is nothing but a pi di square. It's a di square, okay, divided by 4. So pi 12 square. So you are going to get this equation. Okay, this answer. So substitute in that one. So you're going to get a 607.17 Newton per millimeter square. So once the both the stress are done, now easy to find the engineering strain. Engineering strain will be equal to sigma dash divided by sigma minus 1, because we know sigma t is equal to sigma into 1 plus epsilon naught. Okay, by rearranging the terms, you will get epsilon naught will be equal to sigma t divided by sigma minus 1, and we know the true strain will be equal to, okay, so ln of 1 plus epsilon naught. So epsilon naught we found here, so substituting that one, so we are going to find this equation. Okay, so this is a simple equation. Either they may ask the derivation between saying like derive the relation between a true stress and a true strain and engineering stress and engineering strain, or else they may ask a simple numerical where they may ask you people to calculate the values of this one. Okay, so that's how exactly we can know what is a true stress, what is a true strain, what is the engineering stress, what is the engineering strain. Okay, what are the relationship between that one. So by using that one, how we can draw a simple stress strain curve for a ductile material. Okay, and a simple numerical to calculate the respective terms. Okay, thank you.